Okay, we've got a quarter past 2, and so we're going to go to Des for the next presentation. Des, are you happy to share, or did you want us to do it?
No, I can share, no problem. Ian, just give me a shout there when it shows up. Hopefully it'll show up. I'm sharing directly from PowerPoint rather than from the other way
Yep,
around, as it were.
that's
working?
up. I can see that. That's great. Thank you.
Well, go ahead, will I? Yeah. Thanks, Ian. So our urban forestry program, which is still in development, so I can't offer you too much in terms of detail at this point, but I'll give you a little bit of the background and context. So Future Woodlands Scotland, for those that aren't familiar with us, we've been around since about 2000. Funding has come from BP. The majority of our funding has come from BP over that time. And our primary activities have been funding research and innovation in terms of woodland biodiversity and carbon, but also woodland creation through the Future Woodlands Fund, which is rural-based. So I'm not going to speak to that today. I'm here to speak about our more recent scheme, or program, which is the Urban Forestry Program. So that is our vision for the program, that over the 10 years, towns and cities across Scotland make significant progress towards the 300 rule. I imagine most of you are familiar with that, but just as a quick reminder, everyone should be able to see 3 trees from where they live. There should be 30% canopy cover in neighbourhoods, and everyone should be within 300 yards of a quality green space. So that's the vision for the programme. Where are we at now? We're a long way short of 30% canopy cover in urban Scotland. It's approximately 15.7%, and access to green space, or quality green space, is not as it should be in all areas, as I'm sure most of us would probably agree. So what's holding us back? Again, speaking to people far more knowledgeable than me on this point, but planting trees in an urban setting is complex. It's expensive for a variety of reasons. Survival rates is a huge factor here. If we're trying to increase canopy cover and we're losing 30 to 50% of what we plant, it's obviously a challenge. Ian, will I pause there because there's a bit of background noise? I think some people have forgotten to turn off their mics.
Yeah, that's a good point. So, colleagues, if you're listening and you've got can you just check you've got your microphone off? Because I think someone's got it on. If they could turn it off, anyone who's got their microphone on and you're not the speaker, please turn it off. Thank you.
Thanks, Ian. And of course, local authorities and all organisations really are low on capacity in terms of maintaining and managing the woodlands. I better give you a credit there, Ian. The graphic there on the bottom right is actually a Greenspace Scotland graphic that I borrowed. So how can Future Woodlands Scotland help? Well, we now have additional funding of 10 million over the next 10 years. This money is also coming from BP, which I know some people are a bit uncomfortable about taking money from the oil and gas industry. If it does reassure anybody, this money is coming from it's a license condition of the Morven wind farm that BP Renewables has. So that's where our funding is coming from. What are we going to use this funding for? Well, there's a couple of specifications in our contract with BP. Generally, they're being very flexible in terms of our approach, but they do want us to run a challenge fund, which we'll launch later this year. And they do want us to support both new and existing projects and programs across Scotland. We'd also like to support capacity and best practice in the sector. So that's something that we're really going to have to spend some time scratching our heads on, probably later this year. I suppose the immediate thing to do is to get our challenge fund up and running. But if anybody does have particular views on how we might go about supporting capacity and best practice in the sector, well, either after this presentation, please stick up your hand, or feel free to get in touch with me if you'd like to discuss this in more detail. 10 million over 10 years. 10 million sounds like a lot of money, but of course, over 10 years and across the whole of urban Scotland, and in the context of urban forestry, it's it's not that much. We're going to burn through it pretty quick, I imagine. So we do want to take an approach where we maximize the impact we have, and we do want to be targeted. So we will probably take or be informed by tools such as the tree equity score that was recently launched by the Woodland Trust. For those of you that aren't familiar with it, I'd highly recommend when the presentations are circulated, clicking on the link there, or just Googling tree equity score, and you'll get access to what I think is a fantastic tool, both in terms of advocacy around urban forestry, but also as a tool for the likes of ourselves and to figure out where we really want to channel our funding. That's just a snapshot of it there on the right. So it shows you a global score for a city such as Edinburgh, but it'll go down to neighborhoods, and you can really zoom in and get detailed data on canopy cover, IMD data, ecosystem services, so you can get a real understanding of where interventions are needed. So our challenge fund, we'd like to launch this summer. We'd probably start off with an expression of interest phase with a view to a full application process later in the year in Q3. Details are still being developed, but in terms of eligible activities, it's not just going to be about tree planting. Tree planting will obviously be an eligible activity, but we're really interested in wider activities, biodiversity enhancement, education, community involvement and outreach, anything that we think is delivering on environmental and social benefits. We're aware that there's an element of challenge fund fatigue, let's say, that organizations, especially local authorities, don't have a lot of capacity to endlessly apply for challenge funds. So we will bear that in mind as much as possible, and my mantra will be just to keep things simple, straightforward, and flexible. So we're really interested in ideas, in innovation, and encouraging people to come forward with solutions to the challenges that we face. And then that's really just it. I don't have a lot of detail to share with you at the moment because it's still early days. The contract with BP was only signed late last year, but very open to being approached by anyone who wishes to discuss the challenges in the sector and to explore possible solutions and how our funding might be able to support efforts in the sector. That's my email there, and if you'd just like to sign up to our newsletter, then you can be kept informed as the program is developed. So I'll leave it at that, Ian.
That's great, Des. Thank you very much. If you wouldn't mind, stop sharing your screen just for now. And first up, we'll just open it up for any questions for Des. Anything that people want to follow up on. Just while people are having a think, Des, if I could just ask you, is obviously I realise there's a limit to what you can say just now, but I was really heartened by what you had to say about thinking about revenue funding. That you that's in your head is kind of like the capacity of people to respond. Is there anything more you can say about that particular angle just now?
Sure. Yeah. Apologies, I was just distracted there. I can't seem to stop sharing. Are you still seeing my slides?
I can probably.
I've got it now. I've got it now. There
yeah.
we go. Stop presenting. That's the disadvantage of sharing in a different way. So sorry, your question was around the revenue funding.
Yeah, that you're aware of the issues there. So I just wondered if there was anything more you felt able to say at this stage about your thinking about how to approach that issue of capacity that people have got.
Yeah, well, as you know, my background was in the City of Edinburgh Council, and my experience of working there and indeed in participating in this forum from time to time, yeah, that seems to be the recurring message that capital funding is one issue, but revenue is where there's a real need and a real challenge in securing that kind of funding. Certainly, yeah, and multi-annual funding as well, of course. That rather than giving just a one-off lump sum, we're gonna look at how we can fund programs over a few years to really help things get established, to help trees get established in the landscape, and to support longer term efforts to get communities involved and get our woodlands activated.